On today's episode of Let's Grow Together, I am talking about your environment. Yeah, we're doing a solo episode. It's just you and me. But first, the intro.
Welcome to Let's Grow Together. My name is Nick Monotadibus, motivational speaker and digital marketing strategist. And this podcast is all about helping you grow both in life and business. Let's dive in.
The first thing I have to say is just thank you. Thank you for taking the time to be here. Thank you for taking the time to listen and watch. It means more than I can ever express in words. Yes, talking to you. Thank you so much. It's just an honor to know that you would want to speak with me and my guests. And I think I've had some pretty awesome guests so far. But today, it's just going to be me. Just going to be me and you, and we're talking. And what I really wanted to talk about is our environment, because this has been a big thing for me and something that I've seen, but can also be difficult to do, often to change your environment. But it's such an important part of our growth. I think it's sharks. I believe that if you put a shark in a small um, tank, it will not grow bigger than its tank. And so if it's small, then it won't grow, even though a shark could grow to be a massive creature. And the same thing goes for us, is our environment that we surround ourselves with plays a pivotal role in our growth and development. And this can sometimes be hard because there's a lot of factors that go into our environment, from where we live to who we spend time with, to the people that we're talking with on a regular basis, to the things that we're watching and listening to. All of that plays a factor into our ability to continue to grow. So I wanted to share a little bit about my journey and kind of how I've been able to go to where I am today to where I was a couple of years ago. And, I want to say, look, where I am is nowhere where I, see I can go. But I've had a lot of changes in my life, and an amazing thing has happened because of the changes that I've made. And if I can help shine some light on some things that may be happening in your life and your business that could benefit, then I have an obligation and a duty to share that with you guys. And so when I really started on this, entrepreneur journey, I was living with three of my best friends, and I love them to death. They're my favorite people, and I still see them regularly. But I understood that there was a time, that I was doing certain things that they weren't doing. I was doing certain things that I was interested in that were outside what they really understood. They didn't understand why I didn't want to, go to concerts anymore, and that I wanted to stay in my room and watch YouTube videos about, with Gary Vaynerchuk and Tony Robbins. And that's how I wanted to spend my time, and like working on building something and creating something of my own. But it can be often really difficult when you're surrounded by that type of environment and surrounded by people that don't really understand like what you're doing and why you're trying to grow. And one of the things for me, I remember reading something about Tim Ferriss, and he mentioned that you don't need to have live people in your life that can influence you. And that was such an important thing for me because, I kept hearing from some other people, and Tony Robbins is famous for saying it, but I'm sure you heard it from someone else, that you're the average of the five people you spend the most time with. And if you hang out with the chickens, you can't soar with the eagles. There's all these quotes that go into that expression of your environment and the people that you spend time with. And Tim Ferriss kind of bringing that to my light was awesome, and that's really what started my journey of reading more and continuing to like listen to podcasts and start signing up for online courses. And things really started to grow for me. I started to plan some different things, started to work on some different things. And I'll never forget, so our lease, basically we were getting kicked out of our place because they wanted to renovate it. We didn't do anything wrong. They were just like, hey, we want to, leave. And so there was only 3 of us compared to the 4. So we kind of had to adjust and find some other places. And we were looking around and we found this like 3 bedroom place. And it was awesome. It was like a really cool apartment. And as we were like getting ready to move into this apartment, I should be stoked. It's nicer than the place we were been for. It wasn't as big, but it was certainly newer and didn't have some of the other like old kinks that Philadelphia apartments sometimes have that are a little older, hence why they were renovating it. And I just remember thinking to myself that I was making the wrong decision, that I felt that with everything that I was working on, that I wanted to be by myself. And, I remember telling my roommate that, and I don't know what he thought about that. It's obviously not something you probably want to hear, is that, hey, we're about to move in together for another year. And you're like, hey, I don't want to be doing this. I don't know how he may have felt about that. I mean, obviously it didn't affect our friendship. I don't know if anything could, because he's a ride or die type of friend. And so, with that understanding that, I still moved into the place, obviously. And it was an important year. And I spent a lot of time in my room and working. And I really started the side hustle that started. And I was working with different clients. And I was just like hustling hard, working later nights, but I was loving every second of it. I was waking up and I was running. I was liking the new place because it did have like an outdoor area. So there were definitely some upsides. And, fast forward a little bit, ended up moving into, I was going to move in by myself for the next lease. And the place ended up getting canceled, or there was some issues with the place that I was going to move into. So I ended up moving back home with my parents temporarily to kind of figure out like what my next move was going to be. I was able to be able to potentially save for a little longer and, just plan accordingly. And during that time at my parents, something actually amazing happened. And I don't know if I've ever actually talked about this story, and I wasn't actually planning on telling a story, but, sometimes you just got to roll with it. And because something happened during that time when I was at my parents' house, and I was thinking about whether or not I should create an online course that I've wanted to create it for like 2 years for the company I was working with at the time, Hurricane Marketing Enterprises, which I still love to this day. Awesome people. Had Steve on last week, and and start a business of my own and build the course of my own. And I remember this being such a difficult decision. I remember calling people and talking to people and just like asking lots of questions of what should I do? And, my logical brain would go, well, do it for Hurricane. It's the safe thing. You can make sure it works. You can do that step. I even had one person tell me I should do that for the same reason. Thinking back on it, he was still stuck at the company that he was working for. He wasn't necessarily the best person to be taking that advice for, because at the end of the day, you should never take advice from anyone, because you know what's best for you. And only by asking yourself the right questions, or having a person that's going to ask you the right questions, is going to get the right answer. And you have to follow your intuition, and for me in this situation, here I was, and having to make this decision. And every time I would choose to make it for Hurricane, I'd go back and forth. And then I would choose to make it for Hurricane again, and then I'd go back and forth. It was just like me making this like lame decision, or like not really fully committing to that decision. But then when I finally decided to make that date, when I finally decided to make that commitment to doing it for myself, things completely changed. It was amazing, because I fully changed to commit to building the life that I wanted, to building a business of my own. And it was scary. That was the whole thing. Myself was trying to keep myself safe. Doing it for Hurricane was the safe thing to do. It wasn't safe to start my own business. It wasn't a safe thing to do, because businesses fail all the time. But it felt so right. And it's one of those things you just like can't ignore your intuition. You have to trust your gut, trust what your senses are telling you. And I've continued to trust that. And I'll get into how my environment continues to change throughout this process. And, so what ended up happening, fast forward a little bit, I ended up moving back to Philadelphia, got a lease in an apartment, 1 bedroom, and it was awesome. I loved living in that apartment. I'm sure you've seen previous episodes if you've watched the podcast that you see different things that I've done in my business. And it really was like the foundation of really like building a lot of my business. I mean, I filmed my course there. I filmed so many videos in there. I filmed so many podcast episodes. I got my LLC in that. And, it's just in that environment, in by myself, allowed me to grow so much more. I was able to do so much being on my own. I was able to talk with different people. I was able to, connect with different people. Didn't have distractions. I was like fully focused on what I wanted to do with my business and really be able to dive into building it and to what I wanted it to become. And that was such a cool process. It was so amazing to kind of see how things progressed. And, during my time there was an opportunity for me to go to an event called Business by Design. And that's the program. The event was called Business by Design Live. And this was the end of September, early October of 2019. And I went to this event, full on, basically, took off, like didn't work for all of that time period that I was there. And my whole life changed going to that event. And I should say my life changed from signing up for Business by Design, which was the program, because of the people. But it wasn't until I really started to get in touch with the people when I went to that event. And this goes again to like the people that you're surrounding with and how much they affect you. They make such a huge impact on where you're trying to go and where you want to be. And here I was in this amazing event with 400 other plus people that are all invested in this program. And I was like a kid in a candy store. I was like a kid on Christmas Day, sitting at the top of the steps waiting to come down. It's one of those things where you're like, I belong here. This is where I'm meant to be. And it's just even talking about it, it's like bringing up the feelings and the emotions that I was feeling and being there, and how like just incredible and indescribable it is when you look around and you're exactly where you're supposed to be. You're exactly doing what you're supposed to do. It's like your inner purpose, or whatever you want to call it, is calling, is calling me to be there. And I met so many awesome people, and many of them that were at that event have been on this podcast before that I talk to regularly. And I've been so privileged to be able to have that community because they've continued to push me further. I have conversations with people at like 11 o'clock at night, just like masterminding, talking about a variety of different things in business, talking ideas, but also just like socializing. It's not that I'm like giving up my friends that I've had. It's just that I'm making new friends that we like to talk about things that are a little different. That, is more about how we're going to progress in our lives and how we're going to grow versus, just not to call it like nonsense, but just like things that a lot of people are doing. And there's nothing wrong with those things. Like, I don't want to like feel like I'm bashing like my friends and the things that I used to do, because my time in Philadelphia with my friends was some of the best years of my life. And I don't regret it one bit. But understanding that when you start to grow and you start to feel yourself grow, it's time to reevaluate where you are and where you're spending your time and who you're spending your time with. And this has evolved for me even more. Right now, as I'm recording this, now I'm at my parents' house again. A year and a half later, I'm back at my parents' house in limbo as for the next 3 months preparing for a trip to San Diego to live there and take a new adventure to a new environment where I hope to create a new future with new people. And what's interesting is like what happens kind of through the changes of environments. And even when I changed from my parents to the Philly for the first time, it was it was like I was in my element and being in that one bedroom apartment and like, all right, like new things, new routines. You're able to like get your flow going, create new habits that are going to help you progress into where you're trying to do and what you're trying to go. And a lot of the habits that I had that I created during that time, when I moved back with my parents where I am now, I was able to keep those habits because they've been so ingrained in me. You know, I was able to improvise it a little bit where my morning routines of gratitude, my journal, and my reading is now outside in the beautiful summer weather, loving every second of it in that, and just like getting the rays, getting the sun, and how much that affects you. Again, understanding this environment aspect of how getting into the daylight can help you, can help you get that potential, get that energy that you need from being outside. So much of your physical environment plays a factor in how you feel and how you're able to progress. And as I continued on this journey, as this journey is still embarking, I joined another opportunity that came up. I guess technically, I applied for it, and out of 150 some people, I got selected out of 25 people. And this has been like one of the most life-changing experiences to get firsthand to be able to work with James Wedmore. And you've heard me mention him on the show before, a lot of these people, and going to Business by Design. Here he is on stage speaking in front of 400 people. He's got this massive, like $10 million business. And I have been working with him over the last 2 months or so, learning how to be a better coach. It's not one-on-one, it's like me and 25 other people. And during that experience, I've gotten really close with those 25 other people. And we have this like Facebook message group that just goes on. And it's just been remarkable. And you're going to hear from a bunch of them as we continue. A lot of the guests coming up are all part of that group. And we've been pushing each other. We've been coaching each other. And, I've been fortunate to have some of this already, but I can tell that there's some people in the group that haven't really experienced this yet. Haven't experienced like having a group of people that are all trying to grow and work towards the same mission and just like grow together, And it's just been so awesome to have these individuals in my life. And we haven't met in person. I mean, some of these people we met maybe briefly at the event, but most of us in the group didn't actually meet in person. And it's all just been through the coaching calls that we've had with James and the chat that we've been doing. And I think we're all kind of antsy to get together and meet, and obviously we're all over the country. There's some people in the Netherlands, there's some people in Portugal, some people in Australia that are part of this group, which is like so cool again. But we're all just pushing each other and having that, I just know that, some of the conversations that we've already had are excelling my growth to a whole nother level. And, I hope that this podcast itself, you're listening, that it's helping you to elevate to another level, because that's really my goal. My goal is to bring on other people that you can hopefully connect with and follow and get engaged with, because that's what counts, because your environment starts with like what you see. And, I spend a lot of time on social media, and the thing that really helped me into changing my environment and following different people happened on social media. I went through a bunch of my Instagram. I think I was following like 950 people, maybe close to 1,000 people. And I went through and just like unfollowed a bunch of people. And I got down to, I think I'm at like 500 to 600, so that the people that I'm following are real people, real connections, people that are going to make me better. And also still, my close friends and family and relatives, but I've left it to a select few. I've left it to things that are going to help me, things that are going to keep me motivated, people that are going to keep me growing. So I stopped following things like comicbook.com. If you know me well, I'm a big nerd and that kind of stuff, and unfollowing that kind of stuff, and unfollowing like Comedy Central and different things that were, humorous, that, sometimes is good to have. But again, I don't need to see it on my social media because it's a distraction to my goals and where I'm trying to go and, what I'm trying to accomplish. But the more that we can continue to change our environment, the more it's going to help us. And we don't always have the resources to be able to change the people that we're meeting, or just like where we are in our home. But I know that there are practical, tactical things that you can do. For example, is just like changing your workspace, like rearranging your office can give you a whole new fresh start into like habits that you've had before, routines that you get into. So like changing your bedroom around, to create new habits. So there's all these little things that you can do, because what happens is it's going to break you into those previous habits. One of the things about changing your environment, I've talked about this before, is like at one point I put my TV in the closet. I just like unplugged it and put it in the closet because I didn't want to watch it. I knew that wasn't helping me. And so you can change your environment to prevent you from these bad habits that you may have, because willpower only goes so far. We can only do so much with that willpower. We need to set ourselves up, set things in place that are going to be able to make this, to be able to help you when you get in that decision opportunity to do something that serves you or do something that doesn't serve you. And, when we can create things that are going to remind us, or things that are going to prepare us, it's going to make it much easier. The more that we can continue to change our environment and change the people that we communicate with, the more we're going to be able to grow, and the faster that we're going to grow, and the happier that we're going to be when we're growing. Because when you are spending time focusing on your growth, you feel good, because your growth is focused on goals and things that you want to achieve. One thing I'm been focusing on is my next 90 days, 3 months. Right now, it's the early July, and it's Q3 starting. So selecting things that I want to do and how I want to go about achieving those things. What daily habits do I need to do to achieve those 3 goals that I want to do in the next 90 days? And every day I'm focusing on those things. So continue to see how your environment changes your perspective. I want you to take a moment and think about what you currently have, who you spend time with, and do an audit. Do an audit of how you're spending your time, if there's certain people that maybe aren't serving you anymore. And I don't necessarily want you to be like, hey, just like quit all your friends and leave them alone. That's like not what I'm saying. My roommates that I've talking about, they're the ones that are hopping in RV with me, taking me to San Diego. I love these people to death. But they understand that I'm a different person, and I'm still gonna allocate time for them, but I'm allocating more time to new people. and that are helping, and it's exciting. It's exciting to be with these new people, to be surrounded by these new people, and how they're helping me to grow. It's also the reason, I wasn't planning on talking about this on this episode, but it's also why I just launched a brand new membership program called Growing Together, because I wanted to create a community for people that want to work on these things, that want to work on the things that I've been talking about through all of these episodes so far, the habits that you can create in your life to be happier, to be successful, to be more fulfilled, and also have the opportunity to coach this community because of the training that I've been going through and learned. And so I'm really excited to kind of get that going, and I don't want to really talk too much about it. If you're interested in learning more, reach out to me. But again, I just want to thank you for taking the time to listen to me. And I hope that you find a lot of value from this information. I hope that you continue to work on your growth, and understand that it's a journey, that we just need to improve 1% at a time. Just grow a little bit. Substitute one bad habit for one good habit. And understand that it takes a process. I just explained a lot of things that have happened over the last, 5 years or so, but understanding that all of that takes time. When I was talking about being in that event, at Business by Design Live, that was almost a year ago, when I said, I'm going to move to California. And then now I'm gearing up, preparing for the next 2 months, 3 months to make that trip and move there. So it takes time to kind of put your goals into action. But it's through those daily routines, the daily things that we do to help us to achieve our goals, and how our environment affects us so much. Change your environment. Change the people that you're with, that you're communicating with, or find a new group of people. There's so many awesome groups out there. There's Facebook groups, there's fitness groups, wherever you're looking to go in your life, there's tons of opportunities for you to find and meet new people. And you don't have to cut other people off to meet new people. You have an abundance ability to be friends with a lot of people. So don't limit yourself. All right? Have a fantastic rest of your day, your night, whenever you're listening to this. Thank you again so much for listening. I really appreciate you. I am here to serve you and help you through your journey of growth. And we are here together. We are here to continue to work on ourselves and continue to grow. And I'll leave you with this, is how I always leave these episodes. Just remember, let's keep growing together.
And if you enjoyed this message, please take a moment to write a review. By writing a review, it helps people find this message and helps me help more people. And if you really, really liked it and you think this message could help someone else, take a screenshot, share it on Instagram, and please tag me at Nick J. Boni, NickJBoni, so I can show my appreciation for you. We can all win by helping each other grow. Thank you. Take care, and I'll talk to you soon.